Okay, hello. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Is that better? Hello. In 1834, William Ewell, a philosopher of science and master at Trinity College, Cambridge, was reviewing a new science book on the connection of physical sciences when he realized he lacked the language to describe the author, Mary Somerville. Oops, sorry. He thought the outdated term natural philosopher didn't fit because, it was outdated. And in this case, man of science was quite literally wrong. He needed a gender-neutral term that honored her interdisciplinary work, which focused on the interconnectedness of various scientific branches. Ewell praised on the connection of physical sciences for showing how different branches of science, such as electricity, magnetism, light, and sound, fit together, viewing Mary's work as reunifying a fragmenting field. While he found it extraordinary that such a profound, interdisciplinary, and masterly scientific work could come from a woman, he recognized her as a person of real science, commending her unique skill in connecting facts and concepts, of drawing connections between the seemingly disconnected. He wanted a word that actively celebrated what he saw in Mary as the peculiar illumination of the female mind. And that's how we got the word scientist. Okay, sorry. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I'm a little lost here. Okay. So, who was Mary Somerville, this woman who inspired a new entry in the OED? Oops, wrong slide. Mary was born in 1780 in Scotland between two small towns, Jedburgh and the coastal village of Burntisland. Her father, Sir William Fairfax, was a naval officer and often away at sea, which was good for Mary because it helped her to keep away from his scolding eyes when she roamed the shoreline, collected shells, traced constellations, watched the tides, and read books. She developed a passionate interest in mathematics, astronomy, and science. Her kind of curiosity was charming in boys, but in girls it wasn't so much. Because like most girls, Mary received very little formal education, lest she become sick or insane. So, how did Mary become a renowned 19th century polymath, one of the most famous scientists of the 19th century, and an author who influenced generations of scientists, including Ada Lovelace, when she wasn't supposed to be thinking about much of anything? She was a rebel. She basically refused to stay in her lane, and she persuaded her brother's tutor to give her copies of Euclid's Elements, as well as an algebra book. She worked through them in her room in secret until the servants noticed the candles disappearing and reported it. And then her mother took the candles away. But Mary, being the rebel she was, she persisted. She laid awake in the dark, reconstructing theorems in her head, step by step, from memory. Later on, she wrote, "I had already gone through the first 6 books of Euclid, and now I was thrown in on my memory, demonstrating in my mind a certain number of problems every night." Rebuilding ideas from principles was how she started to make connections beneath the surface. But then, upon returning home from a brief visit, her father found out what Mary had been up to and panicked. According to Mary, he shouted, insert thick Scottish accent here, "Peg, we must put a stop to this or we shall have Mary in a straitjacket one of these days." And Mary was like, "Oh my God, Dad, whatever. You're so dramatic." And she didn't stop. She kept learning, connecting the dots, eventually conducting original scientific research on light and magnetism, microscopy, and molecular science. She was noticing patterns, structures, and connections. Eventually, she began teaching others. She did more than just shared knowledge. She made science accessible, but fundamentally changed how we view the natural world. At a time when science was splintering, Mary revealed a universe governed by shared laws. She illuminated the threads already connecting them. And how did she do this? Well, she kept asking the same question over and over. Does this way of thinking hold up if I look somewhere else? So she began with the largest scales imaginable and kept testing the idea across the universe, the earth, and the invisible world beneath it. What Mary illuminated wasn't a single discovery, but the structure that made the universe intelligible. She wrote 4 books. The first, Mechanism of the Heavens, was her translation of Pierre-Simon Laplace's 5-volume Traité de mécanique céleste, excuse my French, which aimed to provide a complete mechanical interpretation of the solar system. That work placed Mary in the scientific community of England and got her some respect. Her second book, which we had just talked about, on the connection of physical sciences, was her most popular work. It was the book that inspired a new word, and it also revealed how discoveries in one field quietly reshaped all of the others, even suggesting the existence of a hidden planet. In physical geography, she traced connections between human activity, deforestation, soil depletion, and changing weather patterns, essentially anticipating modern ecology. For this work, she was lauded as the first English geographer and awarded the Royal Geographical Society's Gold Medal. And her fourth work, Molecular and Microscopic Sciences, she went smaller still, uncovering the law in its tiniest scales, such as crystals, plant scales, and cells and molecules. And she set out to show how the laws governing the visible world also applied at scales no one could see. By her death in 1872 at age 91, Mary Somerville was renowned as the Queen of Science, hailed for popularizing physical sciences, breaking gender barriers, and writing best-selling texts. She was a celebrated author, an honorary member of multiple scientific societies, and a pioneer recognized as the first scientist. So how did someone so celebrated all but disappear from the history of science? It wasn't because her work failed. I mean, her work was lauded, but because of the kind of work she did, she was more about structure than spectacle. And this was at a time when, as science progressed, it began to reward things like discovery and specialization. Synthesis was basically fading into the background. And at the same time, she lived in a culture that doubted women's capacity for original scientific thought. And her books went out of print. However, Mary is pretty much everywhere. Her legacy remains in people. She mentored Ada Lovelace, influenced John Couch Adams to discover Neptune, as I had alluded to earlier on the work of on the connection of physical sciences, and inspired generations of astronomers such as Mary Mitchell, who discovered a comet in 1847, and one of the most influential scientists of the 19th century, Alexander von Humboldt, who regarded her as an intellectual superior. And her influence can be seen today. It is extensive. Her name lives on in colleges, on currency, asteroids, and even on 5 craters of the moon. When she faded from textbooks, she didn't fade from the world. She just became part of its very foundation. Oops. So, please, let's raise a glass to Mary, Queen of Science.